About 5 years ago, my husband Paul and I moved from Durham, North Carolina to Philadelphia. It was a huge culture shock. I'm from the South. I love all things Southern, and so I was super nervous being here. We didn't know where we were going to live. We were looking for a house. We decided to buy a house in Wayne, but I was so lonely. I didn't know anyone. I was all alone. My family is far away. I didn't have any friends here, and Paul worked really long hours. So I figured this was a perfect time to start a family. We tried right away, and we got pregnant right away in December of 2008. We went to our first appointment at 6 weeks, and we were just so excited to see an ultrasound and just our little baby on the screen. But when we were looking, the doctors were looking, they said that the pregnancy was not developing normally. They asked us to come back in a week just to make sure that everything was okay, or if there was going to be a heartbeat, they would see it by then. But there was no heartbeat, and our baby was not viable. I thought I was lonely before, but now I was all alone. I was so numb. We decided to put off any pregnancy plans for a while. I was so scared and so terrified that it would happen again that I just couldn't bear the thought of it. People would ask when we were going to have babies, and I was too embarrassed to say why. So I never told anybody. After about a year of going through this life and feeling so just lonely and by myself, I decided I needed connection. I needed friendships. So we visited Hope. We went to the meet and greet, and that was great, but I still felt like I needed more. So I emailed Jean Laughlin about attending a women's Bible study. She squeezed me in to the Morning Light discipleship class, and I was super nervous. I was actually really shy after being alone for so long, and I was really nervous to go. But the ladies were so nice and so welcoming, and I actually developed really close friendships and bonds. And I went on the women's retreat in the spring and actually told some of the women my story, and found out that almost every single woman in my Bible study had had a miscarriage or infertility or both. I was really amazed that God had chosen these people to be my closest friends. We decided we were ready to start trying to become pregnant again that summer. We were really nervous, but also very excited. And in March of 2011, we found out we were expecting again. I was so excited because we had waited so long this time. It was just pure elation and joy was what we felt. And at 8 weeks, I was feeling really sick and all the symptoms that go along with it. And we went to our appointment, and I was a little nervous, but mostly excited just to see our baby. So we were there, and the doctor was showing us the different parts, and he had a concerned look on his face, and he said he couldn't find a heartbeat, and he wanted to get a second opinion. We had lost our second baby on April 11th, 2011. We learned later through genetic testing that our baby was a boy. Everything went black. I was so angry. I didn't know how this could happen again. I didn't understand how God could do this to me. This was the worst pain I had ever experienced, and all I wanted to do was be by myself. I didn't want to talk to anyone. Nothing anybody said could make it any better. Nobody had any answers that were good enough for me. I had lost 2 babies now. In my mind, I was broken. I couldn't even do the most basic task that I was created to do, carry a baby. My worth was diminished, and in my mind, I was a total failure. And even though I was so angry with God, I prayed that He would bring good out of this situation. I jumped into serving with full force. George asked me to help with some LoveWorks projects, and God was teaching me so much about how to love others and stretching me in ways that I never imagined. Even though I was serving in new ways and finding joy in that, I was still empty on the inside. I still was afraid that I was never going to have children. I was still grieving the loss of the 2 children I had already lost. Some days I didn't know where I was going to find the strength to wake up. But this is where my church family stepped in and carried me. You know, there's a story in the Gospels, and I heard it on the radio one day as I was driving to church, about a man who was paralyzed, and he wanted to go see Jesus to be healed. But the house that Jesus was in was too crowded, and he couldn't get in. But his 4 friends took him up to the roof, tore the tiles off the roof, and lowered him down. And I feel like this is what my friends did for me. My friends at Hope. They carried me to Jesus. They had faith for me, and they prayed for me when I could not pray for myself. So my family here at Hope prayed fervently that I would get pregnant again. And I did. I found out last October that we were expecting, and immediately I was panicked. I was fearful. Every single twinge, every single symptom that came and left had me panicking. I was so scared every minute of the day. And then on Thanksgiving Day last year, I started to hemorrhage. My husband Paul took me to the emergency room right away. On the way to the emergency room, I thought in my head that it was all over. In fact, I knew it was all over. I didn't know how I was going to go on the next day. I was already thinking of it on the way to the hospital. So we got to the hospital, and the doctors had very little hope for us, given my history and the situation. But they asked that they make you do a mandatory ultrasound just to make sure. And I remember just thinking, I'm not looking at this screen. I'm not looking at this baby. I'm not looking at a baby that has no heartbeat. I'm not looking at another one. And so I grabbed Paul's hand and I squeezed it really tight and waited a couple of moments, and I heard the absolute most beautiful words I ever heard in my life. There's your baby, and there's his heartbeat. On Thanksgiving, I finally had a little baby with a heartbeat. I actually told her to shut up, too. I said, shut up. He doesn't really have a heartbeat. And so, anyway, he really did have a heartbeat. And 9 months later, on my birthday, at 7:56 p.m., God gave me the most beautiful birthday gift I could ever imagine, our son Simon. And when he wakes me up every night, sometimes crying 4 times a night for no reason, I look at his face and I thank God for this precious answer to prayer. So what I learned through this journey is that in the darkest of times and in the hardest times is when I need somebody around me the most. I need people, and community, and connection the most. I wouldn't have made it through without my church family. I wouldn't have made it through without the support of my friends and the prayers. You can't walk through life alone, and you cannot walk through pain alone. Life isn't designed to be lived alone, especially when you're going through a hard place. So if you don't have a family, or even if you do, you need the body of Christ to be around you, especially during times of hardship. So this Thanksgiving season, I thank God for my son Simon, and I thank God for sustaining me, and I also thank God for the body of Christ.